ከተው ዲኤስቲቪ ያላችሁ ቀላል ፈጣን መላ ለዲኤስቲቪ ደንበኞች በሙላ
የዲኤስቲቪ ጥሪ ማዕከል ሳይደውሉ በማንኛውም ሰዓት በሞባይሎ በኮከብ 9299 መስላል በመደወል ስሞንና የስማርት ካርድ ቁጥሩን አስገብተው የዲኤስቲቪ ክፍያ መጠኑንና ቀኑን በቀላሉ ማወቅ ብሎም ወርሃዊ ክፍያውን በቴሌብር በሲቢ ብርና በአዋሽ ብር መክፈል ይችላሉ። ክፍያ ሲፈጽሙ ዲኮደሩ መብራቱን ያረጋግጡ። በተጨማሪም እንደ E16 ያሉ ብልሽቶችን በቀላሉ ማስተካከል ይችላሉ። ለማስተካከል ስሞን ወይም የሞባይል ቁጥሩንና የስማርት ካርድ ቁጥሩን ያስገቡ። ከዛም ከቀረቡት አማራጮች ፊክስ የሚለውን ይምረጡና ከሚዘረዘሩት የብልሽት ምልክቶች ውስጥ E16ን ይምረጡ። በመቀጠል ፊክስ ነው የሚለውን ይጫኑ። ዲኤስቲቪ ሁሉም ያለው እኛ ጋር ነው።
Hello everyone and thanks for joining us. This is AMECO and you're watching our daily updates live from the studio. I am Gaila Damu. Stay tuned. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister AMECO met with the UNICEF Regional Director for Eastern and Southern Africa at Leva Kadili. During the meeting, AMECO appreciated UNICEF's continued support of humanitarian assistance programs, particularly for vulnerable children. The Deputy Premier requested that UNICEF scale up its support for the populations affected by conflicts and climate change. UNICEF Regional Director for Eastern and Southern Africa at Leva Kadili said, currently UNICEF is working in Ethiopia to provide humanitarian assistance to conflict and disaster-affected children. Leva requested that the government of Ethiopia provide support to reach children who are living in remote areas. According to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, UNICEF is one of the leading development actors among the UN agencies working on humanitarian response efforts in Ethiopia. Expert on water management and hydro diplomacy, Fek Ahmed Negash Nuru said, negotiation on water sharing on the Nile should start from a clean slate. The experts debunked Egyptians' insistence on upholding colonial-era agreements on Nile sharing. Brahan Warkana has the details.
Reasonable has been the stand Ethiopia takes to negotiate with Egypt. Yet, Egyptian authorities have been sticking with the colonial-era agreement made among England, Egypt and Sudan in 1929 and 1959. Which excluded the interests from the upstream countries like Ethiopia. The colonial-era agreement mainly granted Egypt to have more than 60% of the Nile water usage, and for Sudan more than 20%. And Ethiopia, being more than 85% source of the Nile water, has gotten 0% right to leverage from the water, according to the colonial-era agreements. In an interview with Amara Media Corporation, a freelance consultant on water resource management, transboundary water and hydro diplomacy, and the former director of Boundary and Transboundary Reverse Affairs Directorate, Fek Ahmed Negash Nur said, downstream countries should depart from their dependency over the relics of the so-called 1929 and 1959 agreements and find for ways of negotiation on the win-win basis.
When we come to the basin water resources, as long as they stick to the colonial era agreement, nobody can accept that because the colonial era agreement already allocated 100% of the water among the two countries. Then why do you negotiate? You negotiate on air. So that has to start from clean sheet. It has to start from clean slate. They have to negotiate based upon international practices and international law.
Mr. Fek Ahmed Negash stressed that Egyptian authorities have to get out of their old thinking about the Nile River and begin to cooperate on the fair usage of the resource.
If you look at the constitution of Egypt, it says Egypt is a gift of the Nile. You go into the constitution, article 44, it talks about Egyptian government protecting the historical right of Egypt on the Nile, which means 100% of water allocated to them. Actually, this doesn't work. This type of thinking is already old-fashioned and it is outdated. Really, we have to inculcate new thinking of win-win solution, joint investment, genuine cooperation, negotiating, to always to resolve the difference. This is actually the way forward. And they have to change towards that. I'm sure the politicians will stand back, think wisely, and then come to a better direction. Otherwise, they are downstream countries. As a downstream country, you are at a disadvantage. Negotiation is more important to downstream countries than upstream countries.
The water diplomacy expert mentioned that the most important thing for both Ethiopia and Egypt is to have confidence and trust to each other and leverage the bounties of the Nile wisely.
The main matter that tied us together is the river. The river starts from Ethiopia and it goes through Sudan, and then others come from other countries. They join in Sudan, they go to Egypt. And the water is sufficient for all of us. What we need is having a confidence and a trust in each other. If there is sufficient trust and confidence, the water is not sufficient, not only for this generation, but the future generation as well. Several studies show that if we shift storage in Egypt and Sudan to the Ethiopian highlands, the amount of water that is saved from evaporation is more than what is needed to develop Ethiopia. That means there is a possibility of increasing flow downstream. So we understand as upstream countries the concern and the fear of downstream countries, and they should also reciprocate by understanding the need, aspiration, and the future agendas of Ethiopia. So my advice is for downstream countries to really recognize this need and aspiration of upstream countries.
Mr. Fek Ahmed called upon Egyptian authorities to excrete the rhetoric of the colonial era agreement over the Nile and think about a new paradigm on the win-win basis, considering the interest from upstream countries.
A seminar on the role of scholars in building national consensus has stressed the need for capitalizing on active participation of scholars in the national dialogue. And Nathaniel tells us more.
In his opening remark, Addis Ababa University interim president Samuel Kifle said, "This is an opportune time to make use of the national dialogue to resolve outstanding issues. The success of the national dialogue should not be left to few politicians, but also be inclusive and participatory," Samuel noted, urging scholars to actively participate in the process and discharge their responsibilities. National Dialogue Deputy Commissioner Hirut Gebreselassie said on her part that the Commission is currently selecting agendas for the dialogue and scholars have significant role in this. She said that scholars must further strengthen their contribution in this regard. The participant pointed out that scholars had not been active in strengthening the culture of dialogue due to various reasons. It is high time that scholars provided their expertise in various forms in order to make the national dialogue fruitful. The participant noted that the national dialogue is the only and best means to resolve differences and maintain lasting peace and stability in the country. Recall that the National Dialogue Commission, which concluded the selection of participants from 7 regions and 2 city administrations, is carrying out various activities in collaboration with various stakeholders at federal and regional levels.
Economic growth in Africa is projected to remain modest in 2024 amidst the high borrowing costs, geopolitical instability and climate change impacts. Vivian Denessa has the details.
According to United Nations World Economic Situation and Prospectus 2024, persistently high interest rates, further escalation of conflicts, sluggish international trade and increasing climate disasters pose significant challenges to global growth.
The global economy grew at 2.7% in 2023, but the growth is expected to slow down in 2024. And accordingly also Africa's growth is is reported to.
Accordingly, the economic growth in Africa is projected to remain modest, buffeted by the global economic slowdown, tighter monetary and physical conditions, and a worsening debt sustainability situation, reaching 3.5% in 2024. A slight improvement from 3.3% in 2023. Following the launching of 2024 World Economic Situation and Prospectus Report, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa Macroeconomics and Governance Division Director Adam Elrika said that the global economy grew at 2.7% in 2023, but the growth is expected to slow down in 2024.
The major reasons, of course, you have seen, rising prices, especially of food prices, and because of the rise in inflation, the demand, global demand, is slowing down considerably. And with the slowdown in global demand, also the exports are slowing down, especially from developed countries.
Elrika added that Africa's growth is reported lower than expected in 2023, as the continent grows at 3.3%, and this growth rate is expected to pick up slightly.
For Africa in particular, our advice is really to focus more on domestic drivers of growth. Especially governments need expansionary fiscal and monetary policies. Even at the time when we have to deal with inflation and instability, we have to look at sources of growth and how to enhance growth through increased domestic expenditure on infrastructure and to attract more domestic and foreign investments.
Despite challenges, the continent's economy is forecast to grow by 4.2% in 2025.
Highlighting the corporation's crucial role in import substitution and export diversification, it is stated that Industrial Parks Development Corporation has revealed a significant increase in investment and production activities at Ethiopia's industrial parks. Brown Workana has more on it.
The government of Ethiopia have established 13 industrial parks specialized in various manufacturing sectors, including textile, agro-processing and pharmaceuticals. The parks have been established with the vision to make the country a leading manufacturing hub, and the government places high focus on industrial parks development and expansion. Industrial Parks Development Corporation Deputy CEO Zaman Junedin told INA that recent investments by both local and foreign investors have resulted in the occupation of most industrial park units with a utilization rate of 85%. The chief executive officer attributed this growth to the post-peace agreement, environment and the Industrial Parks Development Corporation's reform initiatives, including streamlined procedures and enhanced customer service. Zaman noted the growing prominence of industrial parks in manufacturing essential goods such as pharmaceuticals, textiles and agriculture products. The Deputy Chief Executive Officer highlighted the Qilinto Industrial Park's contribution to replacing imported pharmaceuticals and the Debre Birhan and Bolilem Industrial Park's ability to meet the demand for malt by local beer producers.
We have
been registering remarkable achievements. For instance, we have engaged in activities in improving import substitution in pharmaceuticals, as we have been spending huge foreign currency to improve pharmaceuticals. We have been working to reverse this and currently obtaining good results. Additionally, we have also recorded concrete achievements in agro-processing. The factories located at Debre Birhan and Bolilem industrial parks have been able to supply malt to our beer producers 100%. Previously, the factories used to import malt from various European countries, including France. These malt factories have already been in process to export their product, as they have covered fully the domestic demand.
የአገር ውስጥን ገበያ ፍላጎት ሙሉ ለሙሉ ተደራሽ አድርገዋል። ከዛ በተጨማሪ ኤክስፖርት ሁሉ ለማድረግ ፕሮሰስ ላይ ነው ያሉት።
Moreover, the Kilinto Industrial Park is actively receiving raw materials from neighboring avocado farmers, creating a sustainable market chain. Additionally, the DPRI Chief Executive Officer said the Jimma Industrial Park's avocado-based edible oil production is benefiting up to 70,000 avocado farmers. In the textile and garment sector, products manufactured in industrial parks meet global quality standards and are exported to major markets, including the United States and Europe. Textile and garment manufacturers are also contributing to import substitution by producing uniforms for various organizations, reducing the need for foreign importers. Industrial Parks Development Corporation's efforts to foster mutually beneficial partnerships between industrial parks and surrounding communities are also evident. For instance, a Chinese company is establishing a camel milk processing facility, providing a valuable market outlet for local camel farmers. Overall, industrial parks are playing a pivotal role in Ethiopia's economic development by substituting imports, diversifying exports, and creating employment opportunities. As investment and production continue to grow, these parks are poised to further strengthen the country's economic competitiveness by strengthening import substitution and export trade. Import substitution of textile and food items has already been bearing fruits. It is indicated that 100% of beer barley seed demand of the country has been covered with domestic products. The nation has begun exporting beer barley seeds as the country was able to produce surplus. Ethiopia is also working to fully substitute imports of food and beverage products as well as textiles and garments in the next 3 years.
As we proceed to news beyond borders, the latest World Malaria Report 2023 shows that despite continued efforts, malaria remains a significant public health challenge, with both malaria incidence and mortality higher now than they were before the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The World Health Organization report said that this scenario is exacerbated by the growing impact of climate change, which alongside other challenges threatens to reverse progress in the fight against the disease. Compared to 2021, the report indicates an increase in global malaria cases, which rose to approximately 249 million in 2022. Global deaths from the disease were estimated at 608,000, a nearly 6% increase since 2019. Particularly alarming, according to the new findings, is the continued high burden of the disease in Africa. The African region disproportionately bore the brunt of the malaria burden in 2022, accounting for 94% of global malaria cases and 95% of all malaria deaths. Estimates show that about 78% of these deaths occurred in children under the age of 5. Uganda is part of a group of 5 countries, including Ethiopia, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Papua New Guinea, identified by the report as collectively accounting for a majority of the increase in global malaria cases. The UN's top court could issue emergency measures ordering Israel to hold its military operations in Gaza. The session of the International Court of Justice is part of the case brought by South Africa alleging that Israel is committing genocide. Both countries testified when the case opened 2 weeks ago. Israel has vehemently rejected the allegation. A ruling against Israel is not enforceable by the court but would be politically significant. More than 25,000 Palestinians, mostly women and children, have been killed and tens of thousands injured, according to Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza, since Israel began its offensive, triggered by an unprecedented attack on Israel by the group. The Hamas attack on 7th October killed about 1,300 people, mainly civilians. The attackers also took about 250 people back to Gaza as hostages. South Africa, which strongly supports the Palestinians, asked the court to issue 9 provisional measures, including a halt to military activity by Israel, while it considers the accusation of genocide. A ruling on the latter is not expected for a long time, possibly years. That's all the news we have for today. I'm Gaila Damu. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with the rest of AMECO programs.
Hello and welcome. This is Amara Media Corporation and you're watching our weekly edition, Apps of the Week. This edition has 2 components, Grand Stories in the View. Presenting the program, I'm Mo Dumoulier. Stay tuned. Ambassadors and tourists who attended the Ethiopian Timkat or Epiphany Festival at Jan Meda in Addis Ababa said they were impressed by the rich, shining and spiritual gathering of the clergy and the faithful of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church in traditional attires.
Emphasizing the cultural value of Timkat, the dignitaries and visitors said the festival they have experienced at Jan Meda was awesome. Italian ambassador to Ethiopia, Agostino Palise, associated the event with the historical and religious importance.
A very important event for all the Orthodox community. I represent, the history and the tradition of Ethiopia. It's very important. People feel, this kind of event. It's nice that they keep the tradition like it was once. So I am very happy to see all these people here, and God bless Ethiopia.
Further highlighting the colorful celebration, Israeli ambassador to Ethiopia Alelin Admas underscored the unique timing of Timkat coinciding with the harvest season, making it a particular joyous occasion.
Timkat በዓል በሰፊው የሚናፈቅና ወቅቱም ደግሞ በጣም ጥሩ የሆነ ለህብረተሰቡ
In the villages, everyone harvests its produce in this season, sells agriculture products and buys new religious or cultural clothes to celebrate Timkat. It is also a day that the urban residents also express their joy in this way. I believe this Epiphany is the biggest and exciting feast in Ethiopia.
የገጠሩም ህብረተሰብ የሚደሰትበት ቀን ስለሆነ በተክላላው በዓለምም እንደዚህ ቢከበር በጣም ጥሩ ነው.
The ambassador expressed his view as the Ethiopian Epiphany has been inscribed in UNESCO. It should also be celebrated beyond this country, worldwide. He pointed out that people from different countries also go on a pilgrimage to Israel to celebrate Epiphany in Jordan River. Benjamin Kalkum, who is a board member of a German church, said he was struck by the profound spiritual essence of the ceremony. Kalkum believes that spiritual people should not always be silent or sad, but spirituality and receiving the grace of God can also be something very joyful, very beautiful and colorful like this ceremony. Kalkum also impressed by the diversity and inclusivity of the celebration.
It's a very impressive celebration, very beautiful, very colorful, and I think also very deep. I really think there's a very deep meaning behind this ceremony, which honors the baptism of our Lord Jesus Christ, and it's just very beautiful, and I also tend to see the happiness and the joy of the people who are now all blessing themselves with the water. It's touching to see. It's really touching, and because it's both, it's spiritual.
For a first-time visitor, Maraki Garis from Germany, the experience was nothing short of lovely and transformative.
Oh, I love it. I love the culture. The people there are so nice to me. Yeah, I love the food. It's so good. Injera, I love it.
The colorful Timka celebration, as witnessed by ambassadors and tourists, it is true expression of Ethiopia as a beacon of its spiritual depths, rich and diverse cultural heritages. Their personal accounts not only require us to preserve this valuable heritage, but also extend a warm invitation to the world to come and experience this unique and unforgettable celebration.
Consulting on water resources management, transboundary water and hydro diplomacy, Ahmed Negash said, in the name of a binding agreement, Egyptian authorities are trying to deprive Ethiopia from undertaking and development upstream of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and other projects on the Abai River. Egypt insists on Ethiopia signing a binding agreement regarding the filling and operations of the dam. Meanwhile, Ethiopia is willing to sign an unbinding agreement. Pranismo has more.
The latest trilateral negotiation among Ethiopia, Sudan and Egypt on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD, concluded unsuccessful. Egypt demands Ethiopia to sign a legally binding agreement on the filling and on the operation of the dam. And Ethiopia says it will not enter into an agreement that jeopardizes the current and the future use of the Nile. A freelance consultant on water resource management, transboundary water and hydro diplomacy, and the former director of boundary and transboundary rivers affairs, Ahmed Negash, in an interview with Amara Media Corporation, mentioned that there is no need for Ethiopia to sign any binding agreement on the dam, and reaffirmed that it's not important.
Transferring their own blame on Ethiopia is common throughout for the last 10 years. The Egyptians, they commit a mistake. They throw every obstacle on the road. They keep on changing the goalpost. And therefore, eventually, they blame Ethiopia as, hardliners, intransigent, not accepting, not flexible. I mean, this is very common. But whatever happened, Egypt is still insisting on binding agreement. As it is already well known, binding agreement is not important. There is no any logic behind it. There is no legal ground for having a binding agreement. And it is not also technically, easy to have such type of binding agreement on something which you can change from time to time.
Ahmed elaborated that Egyptian authorities are in a position of annexation of the 1929 and the 1959 agreement over the Nile.
The issue is with Egypt, not with Ethiopia. Ethiopia is flexible, and actually Ethiopia has been going beyond what it can do really to accommodate the interest of Egypt. But still, they want to have an agreement that they can annex to the 1929 and the 1959 agreement. This is actually what is behind the agenda. They want a binding agreement with a commitment from Ethiopia to release a certain volume of water, which really they can, make it, part of the 1929 or 1959 agreement.
All the untiring exertion that Egypt has been conducting with regard to the GERD and the Nile is to secure Ethiopia's recognition of the so-called historical right of Egypt over the Nile. Ahmed reiterated that unless Egyptian authorities change their position, no agreement will be successfully concluded.
This is something, actually the Achilles heel of Egypt so far, because Ethiopia never recognized their water share. So under the camouflage of filling and annual operation, they want to really secure recognition by Ethiopia of a certain amount of water from, if possible, the whole, if not part of what they call their historical right. So as long as this position is there, there will not be actually any agreement.
Mr. Ahmed said, in the name of a binding agreement, Egyptian authorities are trying to deprive Ethiopia from undertaking any development activities and other projects on the Nile.
When Egypt wants a binding agreement, when they say binding agreement, they want to make sure that Ethiopia will not make any effort to develop any project upstream that is their interest. Ethiopia is always calling, first of all, to have, an all-out agreement to negotiate on a water allocation or water sharing among the 10 or 11 Nile Basin countries so that everybody will know his or her own share, so that it could be very clear whether, any project that is implemented have impact or not. So in the absence of that, actually, Egypt is not willing to go into that type of, arrangement. So they want to make sure that in the name of a binding agreement, they want to make sure that Ethiopia does not undertake any development upstream of the Gad. So Ethiopia is not accepting also that notion, because there are several hydropower irrigation projects which will be definitely developed in the future when, it is actually when the time comes. So they want to make, sort of limitation on Ethiopia to do that. That's why Ethiopia is always mentioning that I have projects upstream and those projects have to be recognized during the negotiation. So that's what actually happening.
According to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Policy Advisor to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, Ambassador Taye Asqassalassy briefed ambassadors and heads of missions on the need to protect the national interests of Ethiopia. Diladamu has more.
During the session of the annual Ethiopian Ambassadors Retreat, various papers highlighting manifold regional and geopolitical shifts and issues of peace, security and development were presented by heads of missions, director generals, veteran diplomats, as well as senior researchers from the Institute of Foreign Affairs. Ambassador Taye further urged envoys to protect the national interests of Ethiopia with a better understanding of the global situation and foster foreign relations predicted on forging consensus, friendship, cooperation and diversification of partnerships. State Minister of Foreign Affairs Misganu Arga, who moderated the meeting on his part, said Ethiopia's diplomats together with partners should champion an assertive diplomatic posture and ought to discharge their leadership duties in manner that is cognizant of major geopolitical dynamics. Misganu also stressed that multiplying partnerships and alliances should also be the hallmark of Ethiopia's foreign relations that is geared towards protecting and promoting our national interests.
Ethiopia's ambassadors in Kenya, Somalia and Djibouti remarked that Ethiopia is working based on the principle of shared development and mutual benefits in the region. Brand Ismail.
The latest agreement between Ethiopia and Somaliland was conducted with the principle of give and take and shared development, the ambassadors told the Ethiopian news agency. Ethiopia's ambassador to Kenya, Bacha Dabele, said that his country is making extra efforts to ensure sustainable peace and shared prosperity across the region and beyond. In particular, he appreciated the practical work being done in creating infrastructure and trade ties with neighboring countries, and explained that any infrastructure or other joint development projects will be implemented based on the country's foreign policy that prioritizes neighboring countries. The ambassador pointed out that Ethiopia has been carrying out cooperation with its neighbors based on the country's foreign policy. He further stated that the Memorandum of Understanding signed by Ethiopia with Somaliland to obtain a seaport is based on mutual development and benefits and follows the principle of give and take. This is where Ethiopia's policy of collaborative development initiated, that Ethiopia bases a lot of its diplomatic efforts on the shared development premise. Developing together is the principal idea of our policy. Ethiopia's principle of shared development is one of the pillars of its diplomatic activities. Different things can be taken. As an example, in this regard, we can cite the Lamu Port, South Sudan, Ethiopia Transport, Lapset Corridor, that will bring the region together and ensure the regional cooperation. It will even cover the Western countries if a railway is built, starting from Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and then Uganda. It plays a fundamental role in the fight against poverty together and makes a great contribution, he said. Ethiopia's ambassador to Somalia, Mukhtar Mohammed, on his part said that Ethiopia is working with neighboring countries to support its desire to prosper together. The ambassador mentioned that Ethiopia has been exerting efforts to make regional integration a reality and carrying out development works that benefit neighboring countries. For instance, he said that the Galmudug city of Somalia has submitted a request to benefit from electricity service from Ethiopia and stated that the request has been viewed positively by the government of Ethiopia. The recent memorandum of understanding signed with Somaliland is based on mutual benefit and the historical, natural, geographical and cultural ties between the peoples in the region. This connection is natural. It's not something we are talking about today. It's a fact that cannot be broken by political arguments or pressure from elites. Instead, we must be able to build on this. The ambassador said such agreements would help to ensure mutual benefit, shared prosperity and development. It requires generosity, foresight and sincerity. By doing this, Ethiopia will not harm anyone, but it's a way of showing commitment to grow together. Ethiopia's ambassador to Djibouti, Brahanu Tsaggai, said that the friendship between Ethiopia and Djibouti, which has been going on for more than 100 years, has been strengthened through mutual development and benefit. Brahanu explained that the two countries are working more closely on the principle of mutual benefit in roads, railways, ports, water, electricity and other sectors.
International Ethiopian Diaspora Consultative Forum has been officially established with a view to facilitating ways to create strong diaspora engagement in the overall development efforts of the country in collaboration with the government.
A high-level Ethiopian Diaspora Diplomacy Forum held at National Science Museum in Addis Ababa to discuss on the achievements, challenges and future tasks in engaging the diaspora. On the occasion, International Ethiopian Diaspora Consultative Forum was officially established. The objective is to create strong diaspora engagement in the overall development efforts of the country in collaboration with the government. The panel discussion, organized as part of the ongoing Diplomacy Week, aims at increasing the participation and contribution of the diaspora in the national affairs of Ethiopia. Foreign Affairs State Minister Ambassador Misganu Arega, State Minister of Tourism Lensa Mekonnen, Ethiopian ambassadors and heads of missions abroad, as well as members of the diaspora and other invited guests were in attendance at the forum. Foreign Affairs State Minister Ambassador Misganu Arega commended the participation of the diaspora in terms of national development, remittance and other areas, stressing the need to further scale up this engagement to a higher level, noting the government's strong commitment to strengthen the participation of the diaspora. The state minister said efforts will be exerted to enhance the contribution of the diaspora, knowledge and technology transfer, as well as tap their potential for development. Ambassador Misganu said that engaging the Ethiopian diaspora in various activities of the country will further be intensified. Ambassador Misganu thanked Ethiopians in the diaspora for their commitment to support the country in its effort for transformation. The ambassador said we have to work together to build nation and protect its national interest. Finally, he urged the diaspora communities to strengthen their efforts for the benefit of the country by protecting its national interest. Ethiopian Diaspora Service Director General Muhammad Idris said the forum aims to discuss the conditions that could encourage and strengthen the diaspora's engagement in the nation's development endeavors.
Residents of Hargeisa, the capital city of Somaliland, who attended the second-generation Ethiopians welcoming ceremony held at Friendship Park in Addis Ababa said the homecoming program harnesses connection and contribution to the country's progressive development. Ranurkana has more.
In a vibrant display of unity and cultural exchange, Friendship Park in Addis Ababa hosted a grand official welcoming ceremony on Thursday for second-generation Ethiopians returning home under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's invitation. Organized by the Addis Ababa City Administration in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ethiopian Diaspora Service, the ceremony resonated with themes of reconnecting to roots and contributing to the nation's ongoing progress. Among the crowd was Muhammad Askar Ibrahim, who traveled from Hargeisa, Somaliland, to witness the homecoming, emphasized its significance in facilitating reconnection and contribution. Muhammad said the people who come back can increase, educate and assist their economy and to upgrade its economy highlighting the potential for shared knowledge and support from abroad. Mohammed noted most of the diaspora live in developed countries, contribute to the overall development of the country. Mustafa Ali Isa, also from Somaliland and a former Ethiopian university student, stated that the homecoming events was visiting and important to foster connections and networks.
I visit Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a good country and good country diplomacy. Ethiopia in Africa. The Ethiopian Addis Ababa is the city of Africa.
He emphasized Ethiopia is a good country, diplomatically is the city of Africa, the people are good, pointing to the nation's infrastructure, industrial development and vibrant diplomatic role. Mustafa further commended the ceremony as a platform for connection and engagement of the diaspora with their country of origin. This homecoming initiative, spanning 3 stages from December 2023 to September 2024, aims to strengthen ties beyond the diaspora and their ancestral land. The first phase, Teamed Connect Your Culture, has seen the influx of diaspora embracing the heritage and witnessing Ethiopia's recent strides. The ceremony at Friendship Park served as a vibrant symbol of this reconnection. The event underscored the potential for the diaspora to become not just visitors but active participants in the nation's development journey. The Premier's invitation to the diaspora stems from a desire to bridge the gap between Ethiopian communities abroad and their homeland. Recognizing the potential for knowledge and skills transfer and cultural exchange, this initiative seeks to harness the diaspora's contributions for the benefit of Ethiopia's ongoing development. With the homecoming program still in its early stages, the ceremony at Friendship Park offers a glimpse into the potential of this ambitious endeavor. As more second-generation Ethiopians return, the nation stands to benefit from their diverse perspectives and talents, fostering a strong and more connected future.
Ethiopia will increase the amount of safe drinking water supplies to Djibouti from 20,000 to 100,000 cubic meters per day, according to Ministry of Water and Energy. Febendenesa.
It was indicated that the Ethio-Djibouti potable water project is a manifestation of regional mutual development that economically integrates the people of the 2 countries which share similar identity. Recall that the Ethio-Djibouti cross-border potable water project was commenced 6 years ago with a loan from the Chinese government based on the water supply agreement between the 2 countries. Through the underground wells dug in the Somali region, the water covers 258 kilometers from Shinile Mille, Harawa, Adigala, Lesesrat, Aisha Dawele to reach Djibouti city. Delegations of the 2 countries led by the Minister of Water and Energy Habtamu Itafa and Director General of the Djibouti Consulate in Redwa, Ambassador Musa Haji Jamal, visited Adigala in Somali region and its surroundings where they observed the project's activities. After assessing the overall current situation of the project and the improvement works, the 2 sides have set a direction for the implementation of the improvement works and to resolve the challenges in connection to the water line within a short period of time. Minister of Water and Energy Habtamu Itafa said the Ethio-Djibouti potable water project is economically integrating the 2 nations' people which share similar identity, and it is a manifestation of regional shared development and growth. Habtamu said that the ever-growing ties of Ethiopia and Djibouti through various infrastructures is a model for regional integration, adding that the water project is the real demonstration of the integration. Habtamu said that the project was previously used to produce about 20,000 cubic meters of water each day, using oil energy to draw water from the well. However, as part of the improvement activities to be carried out, the project will supply 100,000 cubic meters of water because it will be powered by electricity instead of gas. The minister affirmed that, noting the project improvement activity is expected to be completed within a month and be able to supply the intended amount of water to the people of Djibouti. Director General of the Djibouti Consulate in Dredwa, Ambassador Musa Jamal said, for his part, Ethiopia and Djibouti have been connected by railways, roads, electricity, water and other infrastructure. Roads, electricity, water and other infrastructures. Ambassador Musa affirmed that the connection of the two countries with various infrastructures will increase the opportunities to prosper together as the economic ties will continue to be strengthened in the future. Director General of the Djibouti Consulate said that the Ethio-Djibouti Water Development Project has been providing immense contribution to narrow the water need of the people of Djibouti.
Foreign Affairs State Minister for Political and Economic Diplomacy, Ambassador Misganu Arga, met with a Chinese business delegation led by the Vice Chairman of the Department of International Relations of the China Council for the Promotion of International Trade, Zhang Zhaogang.
The state minister briefed the business delegation on the various trade and investment opportunities in Ethiopia. Misganu said Chinese business should come and invest in Ethiopia in the agro-processing, chemicals and fertilizer and steel manufacturing sectors, among others, to further cement the all-weather strategy partnership recently announced by the two countries in the wake of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's visit in October 2023. The state minister said Ethiopia has become an important investment destination for China, whereas China is a major source of investment and a key trading partner for Ethiopia. Reassuring the business delegation of the government's continued commitment to foster more business-to-business ties between the two countries, Ambassador Misganu told Zhaogang that Ethiopia has much to offer in terms of investment and trade opportunities, as it is expanding its industrial zones and free trade economic zones, reiterating the fact that Ethiopia is one of the major and pioneer subscribers of the Belt and Road Initiative in Africa. The state minister stressed that Ethiopia seeks to further unleash the opportunities in the areas of sustainable development, regional connectivity, trade, investment and tourism, where Chinese enterprises can play a big role. The vice chairman, on his part, congratulated Ethiopia for recently joining the BRICS family. Zhang expressed China's readiness to promote more trade and investment cooperation with Ethiopia in the future.
Ethiopia and Italy have signed implementing agreement to support the job creation-oriented skills and infrastructures development.
The agreement was inked by State Minister of Ministry of Finance, Samarita Soasso, and Italian Ambassador to Ethiopia, Agostino Palise. According to Ministry of Finance, with this agreement, Italy commits to provide finance assistance for a total amount of 12 million euros, comprising 10 million euros loan and 2 million euros grant. The project aims at supporting decent job creation by enabling the flow of skills, also involving Italian excellencies for improving production processes and access to markets, particularly women and young people. It will contribute to the national drive for employment of approximately 2 million new young people aspiring to enter the job market annually. Specifically, the agreement will finance infrastructural interventions to create a skill park in Addis Ababa, inclusive of a center of excellence for fashion and design and an enterprise hub in Jimma.
Ethiopian ambassador to Canada, Fitsum Aragga, said that giant Canadian companies with significant potential in the mining and agro-processing industries are currently making preparations to invest in Ethiopia. Take a look at it.
In an exclusive interview with Ethiopian news agency, Ethiopian ambassador to Canada, Fitsum Aragga, said the embassy is promoting Ethiopia's investment opportunities in favorable conditions in various spheres. Thus, Canadian investors with high potential in the mining and agricultural processing sectors are in the process of investing in Ethiopia, the ambassador elaborated. The ambassador also pointed out that Canada is home to large companies with high experience and competence in the mining development sector. Mining is one of the sectors that the government of Ethiopia has prioritized in its 10-year development plan, so efforts are being made to attract investors by promoting the rich resources of gold and other mineral potentials. With this, Allied Gold, a giant Canadian gold producing company, is expected to launch a project with an investment capital of nearly $500 million, he added. Moreover, Ambassador Fitsum elaborated that efforts are being undertaken in promoting companies to engage in the potash sector too. Fitsum explained that there is a Canadian company that has designed a $108 million project in the field of agricultural processing, adding discussions are also being held with 6 companies that have high potential in various investment sectors. According to Ethiopia's Ministry of Mines, following the government's reform over the past few years, there is growing interest of foreign companies engaging in the mine sector across the country. Ethiopia, with 1.1 million square kilometers area, has advantageous geography and geological conditions and unique mixtures of various minerals even in the same place. It's learned that beneath the fertile lands and vibrant landscapes of Ethiopia lies a treasure trove of untapped mineral wells, a vast reserve of resources waiting to be unearthed and harnessed for the nation's economic prosperity.
Coming up next is The View. Stay with us.
The urban population of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, the capital city of Ethiopia and the diplomatic center of Africa, is one of the fastest growing cities on the continent. According to recent census, its population is about 4.8 million. Its geographical location, combined with its political and socio-economic status, have made it a melting pot to a number of continental and global organizations. Hundreds of thousands of people come from all corners of the country in search of employment opportunities and services. Following the establishment of the current African Union in 1963 in Addis Ababa at a meeting of 32 African heads of state, the then leader of Ethiopia, Emperor Haile Selassie, has taken positive steps to make his capital the core of African unity. At the national capital, Addis Ababa remains the economic, political and administrative hub of Ethiopia. In the last 6 decades, the city has gained international significance at the headquarters of the African Union, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and a regional office for a number of international organizations, including UNDP, UNESCO, and the European Economic Commission. At the headquarters of the African Union and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, is emerging as an international center with diverse economic and cultural characteristics. The city has evolved from a relatively modest size, where pack animals and pedestrians shared main highways with modern automobiles, to a cosmopolitan center where freeways, high-rise buildings for office, shopping, hotel and restaurants, condominiums and exclusive neighborhoods with gated communities have become a common scene. Addis Ababa, whose name means new flower, is indeed blooming by the day and is undergoing rapid changes in physical structure of buildings as well as layout of streets and neighborhoods. Located in the central part of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa is about few hours flight from Europe and many African cities as well as the Middle East. This central location, together with being the headquarters of African Union and United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, has given Addis Ababa a significant advantage in serving as Africa's diplomatic capital and attracting millions of visitors that come for conferences and other site visits. Thanks to the Ethiopian Airlines, one of the most successful airlines in Africa, many of the visitors can get direct connection to Addis Ababa. Addis Ababa, the capital city of Ethiopia, referred as the capital of Africa, is a bustling hub of economic, social and political activities and home to such notable offices at the African Union and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNDP's Regional Service Center for Africa and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, the Africa-European Union Partnership. It is where the African Union is headquartered and its predecessor, the Organization of African Unity, was based. It also hosts the headquarters of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, as well as various continental and international organizations. This has given the city political and economic significance in the continent. Since the last 20th century, Addis Ababa has been the capital of Ethiopia. The government is striving to develop Addis Ababa into a premier metropolitan area for a sustainable community and a diplomatic capital. The economic activities in Addis Ababa are diverse. According to unofficial statistics of the government, close to 100,000 people are engaged in trade and commerce. As the capital becomes stable enough to attract international conference of diplomats and meetings of economic commissions, it encourages businessmen, investors and traders, and the action men of economic development. Addis Ababa has become the third largest diplomatic center in the world, behind New York City and Geneva, with many embassies and missions. Addis offers a wide range of international standard hotels and conference, as well as world-class tourist facilities. It is a metropolitan modern city steeped with ancient culture, where one can jump from traditional to modern Ethiopia in one night. Most of Ethiopia's service industries are located in Addis. Banking and insurance companies are concentrated in Addis Ababa. According to recent data, the index of crime in Addis is moderate. The United Nations Conference Center in Addis Ababa, which is located at the hub of the capital in only 10 minutes drive from Bole International Airport, is the state-of-the-art conference center facility, which is an ideal venue for your meetings, ranging from smaller workshops, medium-sized seminars, to major assemblies that has welcomed heads of states and royalty all over the world. The ultra-modern building combines architectural elegance, which is designed to cater for all locations and sizes. Addis is the great base for which to visit Ethiopia's ancient civilizations and enjoy her beautiful landscapes. The city is founded in 1886. Addis Ababa, a chartered city, is well developed with major cultural, artistic and financial centers. As a result of its historical, diplomatic and political significance for the continent, Addis Ababa is often referred to as Africa's political capital. Addis Ababa is noted for its dynamic culture, powerful fashion scene, high involvement of young people, and for leading the fastest economic growth of any country in Africa. Addis Ababa is one of the hottest tourist destinations in Africa. The city has so many attractions. A visit to the National Museum is a must for everyone. It was built during time of Emperor Menelik II and it holds Ethiopia's heritage. The museum exhibits artifacts from prehistoric to modern time, Addis Ababa market is also an attraction to tourists. In addition to a place to buy souvenirs and other goods, it is a place to meet Ethiopians. Looking at this market, one cannot be amazed by the variety it offers. The Addis Ababa market is established in 1872 as a marketplace to trade. Addis Ababa is a good destination for tourists who want to see the African culture and traditions. The city is also known for its impressive architecture and breathtaking scenery. Coming to infrastructure, Addis has some of the best architectural buildings and roads on the African